Hey, you guys, it's Brandy. Welcome back to my channel. So, when was the first time you started working? I want you guys to drop that in the chat. I'm really interested in knowing how early folks started working. Me, I was 12 years old when I got my first job. I washed hair at my uncle's girlfriend's beauty salon. I made like $100 every single day washing hair in her salon. It was incredible. Also, that summer, I did a program through my school where I would go down to the local television station and film these little news shows for kids. It was really awesome, and I made a little bit of money doing it. Since then, I have had a million jobs, y'all. And I mean, seriously, a million. At one point, I was bored one night. I wrote down all the jobs I had. I'm talking TCBY yogurt. Y'all remember them? I worked at the grocery store. I worked at a restaurant. I worked at a hotel. And then, of course, my professional career working in nonprofit, working at a digital marketing company. Now I work in tech. I think that has something to do with like all of my ADHD tendencies, but I've been working a long time, y'all. And your girl got tired. Last year, everything really came to a head and I had to take a break. So I want to talk a little bit today about burnout. Tell a story about what it looked like for me and then share some things that you can look for and some things you can do if you're starting to feel burnt out. So, like I said, I've been working for a really long time. I got into tech kind of through the back door. I started as a blogger. I was writing and started making connections with folks and got into tech through someone that I knew. So I work in trust and safety. That means keeping folks safe online, writing policies and things like that. So it really does connect with the work that I was doing as a blogger, but it is a lot of work, and especially as I started to move up in the industry and get more responsibility and things like that. And then I discovered for a lot of companies, trust and safety is typically under resourced. So very often I was on call, had to be on call when I was on vacation. And some places I was the only person in the trust and safety department. So managing contractors on my own, being the end all be all on call person all the time during holidays, again, during my vacations, just like all the time, 24/7. I was at a company last year that didn't really seem to acknowledge that. Now, let me just start from the beginning. My brother worked there part time, and I loved the company. I loved the platform. I loved what they were doing, and I really wanted to work there. I got hired on underneath a boss who was just incredible. This super smart woman, I loved working with her. And pretty soon she left, unfortunately. And I kind of figured out why after I was promoted into her role. Now, let me talk about the promotion real quick. I was doing her work after she left, and I was still getting paid the same salary. I still had the same title and everything. And so after about a month and a half, I went to my supervisor at the time and said, "Hey, I'm doing all this work. Can we go ahead and get this promotion moving? Can we go ahead and get me a raise?" And he was on it. Like, he truly was an ally. He got me a raise. He got me a title change. It was incredible. And so I was doing everything that I could to kind of keep things rolling. Now, I was in an old boys club type thing. Like, they were all together, and, the guys, they really talked and they had a network, and they just communicated in a way that was not conducive to me as a Black woman. They didn't seem to have any sort of respect for me or even acknowledge the work that I was doing. So it was really challenging trying to keep things rolling without any sort of support. That was after the boss who promoted me left. So now there's two allies that I had, and both of them left. So now I'm here. There was a new boss who came in, super smart, really, really, really smart. That's what I like. That's the best that I can say about him. And, it wasn't personal. I didn't take his feelings towards me personally, but I just got the sense that he wanted me to be on call and be okay with it. He wanted to me to just kind of work myself to the bone and do it for the good of the company. Meanwhile, in the company, things were changing all the time. The workers, the employees, we were all just like working at the will of the top dog. And I'm sitting here, and y'all know when you have ADHD, you can see patterns. And I'm like, I know I'm not the only person seeing this. I know I'm not the only person seeing that we move every single day based on how he's feeling. And a lot of times, like, people will spend time during vacations, during holidays, they would be on trying to make these things happen. And then we would come back and he would change his mind. So I got to a point where, after being on call 24/7, all the time, like seriously, all the time, y'all, just being on call, because there was the expectation that because this was a 24/7 platform, if someone had a question, they would go to the CEO, they would go to my boss, like they would tweet them, and then I would have to hear about it. I'm like, y'all got to be kidding me. So it was overwhelming. It was too much. So I got to a point where my boss at the time, he asked me to do something. And like, y'all, first of all, I was already depressed. I knew I was burning out. I didn't realize how close I was to being like just completely burnt out. My iron was low. Like, I was severely anemic, but I couldn't even deal with any of these things because I was always working. We had unlimited PTO, but I couldn't take time off. Like, there was one point, the summer before I quit, my family, we were in Hawaii. We were leaving where we were staying to go to a luau, and something popped off on the platform. So of course, because I'm the person, I'm like on the phone with the police. I'm, trying to contact somebody at our company. I'm doing research, trying to find this person on my own. I'm on the platform. Like, I have my computer with me in the car with my family as we're driving to the luau in Hawaii. It was ridiculous. But of course, I didn't get any sort of recognition or anything for that. I didn't get any sort of, gratitude, public thanks, nothing like that. And the crazy part is, I wasn't expecting it because I was used to being treated like that. I was used to being underlooked. I was used to being under-resourced. I was used to just being taken advantage of and not having any support. So fast forward a few months after that. And like I said, I was at the point where I was just completely fried. I was just fried. And so I told my boss, like, look, I need time off. I need to take the rest of today off. I just need to get my head together. I'll be back tomorrow. And he was like, what? I think you can just push through, because actually this is what it was, y'all. It was a meeting with him. And I knew I didn't have it in me to mask and to like be on a call with him and to be answering questions about work when physically, mentally, I was just debilitated, y'all. I was spent. I had nothing to give. And so I told him, I was like, look, I have nothing today. I cannot meet with you. He was like, oh, I just want to ask you a few questions. We can hop on. I'm like, I cannot. I will not be on today. I will not be on tomorrow. And matter of fact, I will not be on for the rest of the week. I'm just going to take the rest of the week off. I immediately called HR, let her know what was going on. And she was like, I understand. And I knew HR understood because I wasn't the first employee who had gotten to that point with this company. There were so many women. There were so many women of color who had felt the same way, who had gone out sick and then just never came back. So fortunately, HR gave me some great support and was like, why don't you look at taking some short-term disability and just like giving yourself some space to breathe. And I was like, okay, you know what? I will do that. And that's exactly what I did. So I went out for, I think it was 6 weeks. And of course, like the first week, I was just sleeping. I could not do anything except for sleep. I was so exhausted. And I felt horrible because I had a skeleton crew. I had someone who was part-time, who was a dear friend, and another contractor who from the Philippines, who was just super smart, and then we had some additional contractors. But I had talked to my boss about the fact that we need more people and we need to like be able to give these folks more hours and we need to pay these folks more. And he wasn't up for it. He wasn't into it. He was like, I don't understand why you need more than one person on during a shift, sir, because I am burnt out. I am on 24/7. I'm always here. I'm always on call. I can never turn my phone off. I'm always tethered to a computer or my cell phone. Like I was walking around with a huge, big old leather purse that was big enough to hold my laptop every single place that I went, everywhere that I went. So back to HR telling me take time off. So I took time off. And then I tried to come back after, I think 3 weeks, I was going to come back. And so I came back and immediately, like that very day that I came back, my supervisor wanted to have a meeting. I was like, this man don't even let me get in and like turn on my computer before he wants to meet. So we got on a call and, let me go back to this, y'all. Let me go back. So when I was needing to take the time off, when I felt like I was about to just like completely lose it, and I told him, I cannot meet today. And he just kept kind of berating me over Slack. Like, well, you should be able to meet and what is the issue? Like if you can't handle, this job, if you can't handle this work. And I said, listen, I am a colleague asking you for grace. I am letting you know that I am struggling mentally. I have been on call 24/7 for the last 2 years of this job, and I need a break. So I am asking you to back up and give me some space to be human. I am asking for you to show me some grace. And then he backed up. Oh, yes, I understand. But then I come back 3 weeks later. He doesn't even come on the camera, y'all. Does not even come on the camera. We're on Zoom and so I go off camera and he's just like, well, if you knew that you wanted to go away, you should have just had that meeting. You should have sent me, the information that I was asking for. And I said, well, if I'm leaving for mental health, if I'm about to have a mental break, that's the last thing that I'm thinking about. Like, I'm not thinking about that. And you didn't check on me while I was gone. Like, you don't care about my mental health, but I do. So after I got off the call with him, y'all know I had to call HR right back and said, you know what? I can't work with him. I need to take the rest of my short-term disability. So I took the rest of my short-term disability and found another job. But listen, if you are going through something like that, if you are burnt out, get away before you get to that point. Because even though I would never want to go back to that job, and if I was thinking like, man, what if that boss came to this company and became like my supervisor again? I would have to leave. Like, I literally could not work with somebody like that. So here's the advice that I want to give y'all. Okay. First of all, if you're starting to feel burnt out, feeling like mentally just spent, talk to your HR person if you have someone there. Let them know, like, I am mentally just struggling. It is a medical condition. It is a medical condition to be burnt out. That's number one. Number two, make sure you are tracking everything that you're doing, because I was able to say, hey, I'm having these all-nighters with my team rewriting policies. I'm sitting up making changes based on the whims of the CEO. Like, these things are not that important. This is not rocket science. This is not, well, even rocket science, like, that's not even that important. Sorry if any rocket scientists are watching, but like, this isn't brain surgery. We don't work in an ER at a hospital, and even with trust and safety being online, there are some things that are life and death situations, which is why I had to handle something like that while I was on my way to the luau. But a lot of the stuff that they were stressing me out about was not life or death. Like, this was stuff that did not have to be handled at 6 p.m. on a Friday or on a Saturday morning. It just didn't have to be. So, keep track of all of the stuff that you're doing. That's number two. Number three is recognizing that if you're in the United States, especially, you have been paying into your disability. So if you need to take short-term disability, you should be able to take short-term disability from your job and get paid a modest portion of your salary through the state. That is your right. You have the right to do that. Okay. And knowing how the mental health service industry is and how difficult it can be to find a therapist and a psychiatrist and to get your meds and things like that, you might need that time if you're like to the point of burning out where you need, professional support. You might need that time completely away from work to be able to devote your energy to that. So, look, I'm at the point now where I love my job. I love to work. I just love to work. I like being busy. I like learning new things. I like being challenged. I enjoy solving problems and things like that. But nothing is more important to me than my health. Nothing is more important to me than the time that I'm able to spend with my loved ones. Nothing is more important to me than like me. Like I am not ever in my life again going to stress myself out for a company, especially not one where I'm not making millions of dollars from because it doesn't belong to me. And I want to just remind y'all of that. Like we live in this society that is so focused on like getting bigger and making more and all that kind of stuff. But when you step back and you have time to really reflect on what's important, a lot of times the bigger, the more, the stuff that we're stressing out about doesn't even benefit us, like the lowly workers. Like it doesn't even benefit us. So why do we put ourselves through all of that? Not me, not anymore. So that's my story time. That is how I burned out. I bucked up and I quit. Y'all, let me know if you have ever quit a job and how do you deal with burnout? How do you deal with burnout? All right, y'all, I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.